Girl, I can't see, but I think I look cute, so we're just gonna go with it. We're just gonna go with it. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie, and I know it's not Halloween. Like, I know it's Friday. I get it. This is going up Friday, and it's not really Halloween, but if I could find any reason to dress up and have a theme, I will. What am I dressed up as? Good question. I don't know, but there is a spider on my face, so you can call me, I don't know, Queen of Spiders. I don't know. I just felt like dressing up. But in today's video, it is my October wrap-up slash September wrap-up, because I didn't do one in September because I only read 3 books in September. It's funny, I went from 8 books in August to 3 in September. I don't know what happened. I don't. But I did manage to read like 5, 6-ish in October, I think. I don't know. I have 8 books to talk about today, so, you know, it's a good round number. You know, we're going to get into it. But if you enjoy these type of videos, be sure to give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. But without further ado, let's just get into the books that I have read recently. Okay, I did the cute intro with without the glasses, and you saw the spider. She's cute, but I can't see worth a darn. So I have to put them on. Okay, so if you're new to my channel, how this works is I go from the first book that I read, which will be my first book in September, and I will go through until my most recent book that I have read. So that's just how it works. I tell you a little bit about the book, no spoilers, I give you my rating, and yeah, we just kind of go from there. So starting off, the first book that I read was Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. I read this on my Hoopla, so I don't have a physical copy. But this book I gave 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It is a rom-com, a brother's best friend fake dating trope. So you have all of those tropes in this story. This story follows Georgie and Travis. Georgie is the youngest in a family, and she's kind of considered like the goofball of the family because 1, no one takes her seriously because she's the youngest, and 2, because she's a literal clown. She does birthday parties and she dresses up as clowns for her business. So she's just kind of, you know, the proverbial clown and the literal clown in her family. And then we have Travis, who is an ex-baseball player who hurt his knee or his shoulder. He got hurt, so he couldn't play anymore. So he moved back into town, and he was always at her house growing up because it was her brother's best friend. So she goes to kind of like check in on him, make sure he's okay. He's not doing okay. And she kind of tells him, she's like, you know what, you're a slob. You need to clean up. You need to like get your crap together.
Snap out of it.
So the story goes a little bit, and then she wants to get serious about her business and have her family take her seriously for like once in her life. And he is up for a big promotion to get this dream job. However, he's been kind of seen as like a ladies' man, and the people who are hiring him kind of want a like family man, kind of like a wholesome, you know, figure in the public. So she's like, I have an idea to make my family think that, you know, I'm more serious, and to show that you are serious about like you can be with one person at a time. Let's fake date. So that's what they do. And he's just doing it at first for, you know, to get this job. But then he starts, there's one scene in particular that isn't really a spoiler, but like he goes to her house for dinner, and he actually sees like how her family like treats her and kind of just like belittles her and things. And in his mind, he's like, why do I care? I shouldn't care, but I care, because he's catching feels. Like he's, you know, he's feeling it, and I was feeling it. I gave, like I said, I gave it 4 stars, and I don't know why I didn't give it 5. I think that's the reason I gave it 4 is because I just got like off of like a ride of 5 stars, and I felt like I had to be a little bit more like serious with my ratings. But I really enjoyed the book, and I would read it again. In fact, I need to buy it because I don't own it, but I have the other 2 in the series, so I'll have to finish that series. It is a series. It's the Hot and Hammered series, in case you did not know. There's 3 in the series. The first one follows Georgie, the second one follows her friend, and the third follows her sister. So but really good series. I definitely am going to continue. The second book that I read was Float Plan by Trish Dollar. Again, I don't have a physical copy because I got this from the library because like I went to the library, guys. Like, pat on me. I haven't been there in like many years. I went and it's a great experience. Anyway, but yeah, this book follows Anna, and trigger warnings. This does discuss suicide in this book, so if that is a trigger for you, just kind of be forewarned going into that. But this follows Anna, and her fiance committed suicide 10 months prior to the book starting, and his big dream was to be able to sail from Florida down to Puerto Rico, and she's just been kind of being a hermit inside her house, not going anywhere, not doing anything, and so she finally just decides that she's going to do it. She's going to pack up her things, go get on the boat that he owned, and sail from Florida down to Puerto Rico. She gets to the first island and she realizes it's a lot harder than she thought it was going to be. So she meets this professional sailor named Keen. He kind of helps her out one night and they kind of connect, and she realizes what he does for a living. So she asks him to help her get from point A to point B. There is a romance in this story. However, it is backseat to like the main focus of her kind of finding herself again and being able to like live on her own and just kind of figure out what she loves, what she wants out of life, which I appreciated because I was like, I really don't want this to be like a main focus, like the romance to be a main focus, and it wasn't. So like I enjoyed that. I ended up giving it 4 stars, but again, I don't know why. I was getting off that kick of let's not rate everything 5, so I rated it 4. But if I would go back, I would probably rate it a 5. In fact, I'd probably rate the first one a 5 too. But this apparently is the first in a series. She does have a sister that gets mentioned a few times in the book, like during phone calls and things like that. And I think the second book is supposed to be her sister's point of view from like whatever's going on in her life. So that'll be interesting if she like decides to do that. But on Goodreads, it does say Beck Sisters #1. So I'm assuming there'll be a #2, but I hope, because I really did enjoy this book. What's the third book? What did I read? Oh, I actually own this book. The next book that I read was Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica, and I gave this 5 stars. This was my first book from this author that I had ever read before, and this is a adult thriller, and I highly enjoyed it. I've heard mixed reviews though. I've heard some people really enjoy it, some people don't, so know that going in. But this follows the story of these 3 individuals that go missing in this town. And you just have to kind of figure out how they're connected. How are these 3 stories connected? There are multiple POVs in this and 2 timelines. So eventually, like, you've got the past timeline and the now timeline, and they come together, and then you kind of figure out what happened. I'm not going to tell you too much about it because I went in not knowing too much. I mean, I don't even think you really need to read this. No. I mean, you can if you want to, but really just know 3 people go missing and no one knows where they went, and you kind of have to figure out how, what went down. I highly enjoyed this book. Did I say I gave it 5 stars? Because I gave it 5 stars. The next book that I read was House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. I think this is such a beautiful cover. It's so pretty. Anyway, this is a YA horror thriller. I don't know what this is under. To me, it wasn't scary. But maybe it's because I'm not a young adult, so I wouldn't find this scary. I don't know. It's one of those. Take your pick. I really don't know what technically it would be under. But this follows 3 sisters who were kidnapped on New Year's Eve. They weren't kidnapped. They go missing. Technically, were they kidnapped? No, because I think they weren't. So this story follows 3 sisters who go missing on New Year's Eve 10 years prior to the book starting, and they are gone for a whole month. No one knows where they went. They don't even know what happened. When they return a month later, they don't know where they were. They don't know what happened. They have no memory of it. And they're really different. They're different. They look the same, but they don't look the same. Their hair is totally white, and they have black eyes, and so I'm pretty sure they were brown hair, blue-eyed children. I think something like that. But when they come back, they're totally completely different. They have these magical powers that they can kind of influence people, and as the years go by, We're following the younger sister, Iris, and her older sister is Vivi, and the oldest is Gray. Gray goes missing, so Vivi and Iris kind of come together to discover what happened to them when they were younger, and also, like, what's happening now to their sister. I enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. Again, it's kind of a slow-ish read, but again, I don't know if that's just because it's YA, and I don't read a lot of YA, like, thriller, horror. I'm getting better at it, but maybe it's just me. I don't know. But some stuff in here is like, you talk about some death flowers, like flowers coming out of people's eyeballs, a guy in like a skull mask coming after him. It's very interesting. And I highly enjoyed the book. It just wasn't a 5 stars for me. But would I read it again? Maybe. You know what? I may read it again in the fall. It's a very fall themed book. It's like, it's in London, it's in England. It's in England, it's not in London. Or is it? It's over there, and it just feels very fallish to me. The next book that I read was White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson, and this is also a YA, but this is really like a horror. But, like, to me, it wasn't scary to me, so, like, if I wasn't scared, you probably won't be scared, because I'm a scaredy cat. But this was my first Tiffany D. Jackson book, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 5 stars. I absolutely love this book, actually. It's really good. Really good, like, mental health representation. She struggles. The girl in this is named Mary. Well, it's technically Marigold, but she goes by Mary. And she struggles with anxiety, so it was really nice to kind of, like, see that being, like, represented in a horror book. But her family moves from California to like a small Midwestern town where it's not like the best. It's not the best part of town. And like the realtor even says that. They're like, you know, make sure you lock your doors at night. Make sure your kids don't go out at night. You know, it's not the best neighborhood. And the guy who's working on the house, he's like, oh, and don't go in the basement. The basement's off limits. You can't go down there. So. That's kind of a red flag already. I want to be able to get into every room of my house. But who am I? You know, what do I know? I'm just saying. Yeah, I'd be gone. But, you know, they stay. This is very much, people compare this to Get Out and Haunting of Hill House. I would agree. There's some spooky elements to it. Like, more like paranoia. Like, you kind of feel like you're being watched. Like, she constantly feels like she's being watched, which kind of made me feel like I was being watched. It's not a very good feeling, but definitely will be reading more from her. I absolutely loved her writing. I loved the story. 5 out of 5. The next book that I read was The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell, and this is adult thriller. This was also the first book that I had read by this author. I enjoyed it. Did I give it a 5 or a 4? I gave it a 4, and now I remember why. It's because it's a slow burn. It takes its time telling you what happened, which is fine, but it's like a slow burn. Like, nothing happens until like a good halfway. You get a bunch of backstory, but like, I still really enjoyed it. And will I read the sequel when it comes out next year? Yeah, because I need to know. But let me tell you about this one first. This one is about Libby, and she just turned 25, and she just inherited a house. Libby was adopted at a very young age. I guess she was like around 10 months old. So she doesn't know anything about her birth family or anything like that. She kind of always imagined them to be like these high society people, and her mom was beautiful and like a socialite and things like that. And come to realize she was born in this house that she inherited, and she may or may have not been a part of a cult. That's kind of the story. We kind of have to figure out, okay, what went down in this house? What happened? Because she was the only one left in the house. There were 3 bodies found dead in the house. She was upstairs in her crib when the police came and found her. This book has multiple points of view and multiple timelines. So you get the timeline happening now, and you get the timeline happening starting in the 80s to the 90s when like this thing occurred. But I did enjoy it. Like, once the story started going and you found out more pieces of it, I enjoyed it. So like I said, I would definitely be reading the sequel and I will be reading more from her. So if you've ever read any from her, let me know down below. The next book that I read on my Kindle, so I don't have a physical copy, but I read The Burning Girls by CJ Tudor. I gave this a 4 stars as well. It could have been like an easy 5 stars, like if I was rating this separately on like Spook Factor, overall experience, things like that, but I'm not. I'm just doing like my overall general experience, and I gave it a 4 out of 5, only because I kind of figured out the main twist. Well, I don't know if it's the main twist, it's like a twist, but I figured one out, and I don't like when I can do that in books. I like to read books and not really know where I'm going, and then I read it on the page and I'm like, what? That's what I enjoy. But this one I kind of figured it out along the way, but it was fine. It was still very, very spooky. This is considered like a horror thriller. So it follows Jack, who is a vicar. Her, and I didn't know what a vicar was either at first, but it's someone to do with like a priest, pastor type thing in religion, you know, church. Yeah. In case you didn't know, because I didn't, I had to look it up. But it follows her and her daughter. They move from Nottingham. I think they moved from Nottingham to like this small village where she's going to be the new vicar of this church. And this town has a history of like having these 7 martyrs that were burned at the stake. And then so many years later, these 2 girls went missing and they never found their bodies. They don't know what happened to them, if they were murdered, if they were killed, la la la. And in this town, they put these like little twig girls, which kind of reminds me of like the Chestnut Man. Have you ever read the Chestnut Man? But like little twig girls, and they put them like on the monument outside the church, and it represents the burning girls. And they say like if you see a burning girl, like trouble comes your way and things like that. And there was some spooky elements in this book, I'm not gonna lie. That's why I gave it like a 4 stars. Like there was parts where I'm like, that's creepy. Like I could visually see that happening like in a movie if they were to make one. And at some points I'm like, I'm getting Silent Hill vibes at certain points. If you've read the book and you've seen Silent Hill, let me know, because I was getting those vibes. But anyway, I still highly enjoyed this book. It was a fast read, but maybe because it was on my Kindle, that's why it was fast. I definitely will be picking up another one of this author's books in the future, because I definitely enjoyed like how she wrote the story. And lastly, I am still currently reading this book, but I'm including it now because it is the last spooky, thrillery book for a while from me, and I just want to get it out of the way. I am halfway done. I will probably finish it today or tomorrow, and that'll be it. We're closing the thriller chapter for a while and going to Christmas. But that is the Final Girl support group. I have it over there, and I just don't feel like picking it up, okay? So I'm putting a picture in. It's fine. But that is by Grady Hendrix. My first Grady Hendrix. So far, I'm enjoying it. I like slasher films, so I knew I was going to be a fan of this book. It's not really slow to me. It started off just like that. You've got a Final Girl support group, and it is what it means. Like, you think Final Girl support group, it is what it is. There's no like ifs, ands, or buts. He takes all the stories that you know of, like Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th, Scream. What's the other one? Nightmare Before Christmas. No, Nightmare on Elm Street. He takes like those girls and then he puts them into the story, but with different names and a little bit of different backstories. So I did have to like write down a list of who was who. Danny is Laurie Strode from Halloween. I know Heather is from Nightmare on Elm Street. So I know who's who, but I kind of had to write it down so I can remember. But anyway, Final Girls are dying. They're being picked off one by one. So far in the book. That's about as far as I got. I don't know who the killer is. I don't know the twist. I don't know anything yet. But follow me on Goodreads or Instagram and you can know my final thoughts when I put up my review. So that's just a shameless plug. That was terrible of me to put that in there, but it's staying. It's staying in there. Right now, it's like a 4 stars if it continues the way it is. If it like blows my mind, it'll be 5, but right now it's a 4. But that is all the books that I have read recently. Let me know down below what books you have read recently. Are they 5 stars? Did you enjoy them? Let me know down below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new and would like to become part of the family. My Instagram and my Goodreads is down below also if you'd ever like to follow me on there and keep up to date with what I'm currently reading. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys, and happy Halloween! Best friend, but no it's not. Get yourself together, girlfriend. Get yourself together. And I just burp out of nowhere, because why not? Why not? And her fiance had committed suicide 10 years. No, he didn't. Like, no, he didn't. You read the book, don't you know? But no, that's it. I can just say that. That's fine. I own it, but I can't get it out. There's a difference. And you kind of, what is going wrong with my eye? It's doing a Topanga. It's very wonky. Hold up. Oh, the next book was House of Hollow, and it's over here. Why don't I get the books before I like talk about them? One of these days, I'm going to be a real booktuber, I promise. One of these days, but not today. Not today. I'm stupid. I read the book. Duh. Okay. So this story follows the event. What am I saying? That's not, I speak English. I promise. Okay. What is her name? Gray, right? It is Gray. I'm pretty sure it's Gray. Iris. Gray is the older. Okay. So So Iris, I wish I could talk. That's what I wish. Okay. So I probably would have, what is wrong with me today? I really have no freaking idea. So, I mean, oh my God. Where's white smoke? Seriously? And this is well, I was going to say a YA thriller. It's really not. Get off the YA thriller kick. You're done. Okay. And this is no, I just did it again. Oh my. This was the first book I'd ever, why? Why? Canceled. She's canceled. What was I saying now? Oh, but still enjoyed it. I will definitely probably pick up, like that's an oxymoron if I've ever heard one. I will most likely definitely, that's the same thing. Okay.